This after we were in New York a couple of weeks ago, and it was very convenient. They all wear black, and it wasn't.
There you go, it's just me fine.
Soon.
Sorry, I spoke. What are you doing today?
The voice doesn't
Still got it,
sound
huh?
good, but we get it here.
So did you have the one where you felt fine the whole time, but you sounded like this and you sneezed and stuff?
I actually thought I was like out of the woods Tuesday night, like after the meeting, I actually felt pretty good. And then Wednesday, no good, and then just went downhill.
Well, that's too
And
bad.
overnight, and then morning was the worst, but then I'm on some meds and now I think out of the woods, you know,
For real.
but this sounds horrible.
There you go.
Yeah, that's too bad. I had it, whatever it was, but I just sneezed and my nose ran and I felt fine. And then Christopher got more of what you had.
On this time.
Well, and I feel like I get fevers, but it never registers. It's almost like they're hot flashes, but I don't get hot flashes, but
I do.
not yet.
And 161%,
But-
what they.
But it never registers on the throat.
Well, do you run cold normally? Because I run about a degree and a half low all the time. And so-
Yes.
So I go in and they go, well, you're only at like 99, that's really barely nothing. And I'm like, well, no, that's a fever.
Yeah. I do run a little bit,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, but I don't have COVID or flu or anything.
Oh, yeah, I tested, Christopher tested, it's like, no.
And they were like,
In there.
we can do a more accurate one. I'm like, no, I've already done like 3 of them at home.
Right,
Good.
something will show up. No, but I mean, it's obviously it's going around.
Yeah, well, I managed to avoid pneumonia from work.
Oh,
A
that's
couple people had that.
walking or
I don't know which kind. They were out for like a week.
probably walking. You get the real one, the bigger one, it can take like a month to kind of get your feet back under you.
You guys are glad I showed up.
We are.
It's like a petri dish. I mean, this is great.
I have a mask in my purse if you want one. But she's masked, she's doing the right thing, and so the rest of us are fine.
N95.
Right, yeah, so we're fine.
During COVID, when they had that stupid rule, if you go into a restaurant, you gotta wear a mask, then you take it off and eat, then you put it on to walk out. I went in,
No, I never experienced that.
yeah, it's a main
No.
thing. Anyway, I came in wearing a Lone Ranger mask. They only said mask, you know.
I am a little bit disappointed that I won't get to use all my themed masks before we realized that these were the only helpful ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
All the
Yeah, we got a bunch
holidays
of those
and,
too, yes.
so I just put the themed ones on top of it.
oh,
Cause you know, you can have 40 layers, it doesn't affect your oxygen. So I would have the ugly white N95.
yeah.
And then I would put my Monet or my,
Yeah,
you know,
I have them on one.
yeah, it's really pretty, isn't
I
it?
should do that. Well, I got the at least colored one.
Boxes of,
Do we know if Pam and Sonny was?
I believe so. She's usually here by now. Have we heard from her?
Aaron, looks
I
like
didn't see-
he's only voting members of the committee.
I guess.
Should we begin? Well, then
Well,
we'll step
let's
away.
wait till Dennis.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes. Get a card. Small town. Oh. Yeah. Start, Saturday.
Have we heard from Pam?
No.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. I thought if we could start by, if the two of you wanna basically present the goals to us and tell us a little bit about
Sure.
how you got to them, and then we can kind of go from there.
For those who don't know me, I'm Fred Libby. I'm the chairman of the ad hoc advisory, economic development advisory committee. This process of developing our goals took the better part of a year, because we were, well, frankly, we were changing membership at that time. And we were also kind of coming to grips with what was, and I'll say at this point, but distilled to the 9 important points that you find on this, in this economic development goal. Each one of these was a topic of conversation. And these here. And as a result, we spent a lot of time wordsmithing and putting this together. And what I will say in the general overview is that the first 3 pages of this 9-page document are the actual goals of what we're about to do. The remaining pages are, which is the index, the appendix, gets into the finer detail of it. Now, having said all of this, we fully recognize that what we're doing in this environment is fairly fluid. That is, every day the door opens at town hall, there's a new opportunity or a new challenge. And it's presented to ultimately the select board, but in our advisory capacity, we feel that we are the kind of the fielders. We grab hold of whatever issue it happens to be, whether in this case it has to do with historic village or rail access or any of the 9 points here that we discussed. And then we come up with, we formulate in I will say a piece of advice that we will then transmit on to the select. And again, the appendix gives you a much more detailed overview of what we do and what we wrote down. So this is the distillation of a year's worth of work. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Aaron, how'd I do?
Fantastic. I just would add that if you recall, when we, in the creation of the committee, the ad hoc committee, when the select board charge was to develop a set of goals. And sort of give you. And the committee's role is to advise, and then it's our job as a committee to work up proposals and things like that, and then you were to consent if you so please. And so we're did the first step of the process of setting some goals. One of the reasons why it took so long was our approach was to do research, read some of the existing town plans that the previous bodies had put together. We looked at the previous comp plan. There was an economic development plan, 2000 era. We looked at that. We looked at a housing study, county housing study. So we looked at a variety of different, resources, and then that's how we got to this point.
We enjoyed it. Katie, would you like to add anything to that?
No.
Okay.
Would you say, so I guess, based on those 3 documents that you listed in here, would you say that was the majority of where you came up with these, or I'm just wondering a little bit more about the process of how you came to these 9 things?
I think, frankly, yes, it was looking at the documents. For instance, there are several studies of the waterfront going back as far as 2003, something like that. And so we frankly, we skim those and we see if there's meat on the bones, and is that something that we want to go after, to champion, or to develop? So that's pretty much our modus operandi.
The other part was the MISR process. You know, there's some recommendations that based on that MISR process. And so we wanted to, you know, build upon that process, put it in sort of, in writing, you know, more into this document. So that's how we, guess it would be the objective one, the bullet one.
In the first 6 months, Bill, wouldn't you agree, we spent a lot of time working, because at that point, Bill was the liaison and I was on the committee. We spent a lot of time looking at the housing situation, because Lincoln County and the area had done a huge study about the housing need. So we spent a lot of time looking at that, what properties were available, what private properties were available that might have been good, et cetera, what benefits were there, you know, to increasing that.
And I know one of the things you're asking us to do is to prioritize. Would you say the order in which these things are right now is the prioritization the committee would recommend?
No, we didn't prioritize anything.
Oh, no.
Have you do that
So
Those
exercise?
numbers are simply
Yeah,
organizational.
that's correct, this is for delineation, we stayed away from prioritizing.
You know, I think the first step of the process is to just develop consensus on the goals. If you wanna prioritize them, you can. But it's not necessary. But I mean, I think you would, personally, I think you would, we could benefit from that in a little bit direction. But I don't necessarily, it's not necessary. Sarah, I mean, Alyssa has a recommendation, a thought on that too, so. An opinion.
I think prioritization will change
Yeah.
over time, and so I consider it less important.
Yeah, and I would say, and please don't take this as taking away from, you guys have done a lot of really great work. I don't think it's realistic to say we're gonna do everything on this list.
Oh.
No,
Okay, just wanna make sure.
no, these are,
I don't think-
No,
these are the
Just wanna set expectations here.
these are the things that we think the village has that may have an opportunity at some point to be useful for the village.
Yep.
But we're not saying that
Opportunity may change things.
absolutely,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
You know, but these are our core assets, shall we say?
And we're also listening to what's coming up on your table.
yeah,
So I guess that leads me to my other sort of big umbrella thing, is that I feel like it's really important for us to get to what do more than just the board and the committee see as what we want. What does the public actually want? And we talk about this a lot, that we have to figure out a way to get past the same 30 people who come to every workshop that we do. And those people are wonderful, but we have to reach more than that. So I guess I'm throwing it out there for anybody. How do we do that? Or can we come back to the table at the next workshop with some ideas of how do we do that? Because I don't want us to go too far down the road with any of these before we actually know that the public wants this. Cause I can sit here and say, well, I like that one and I like that one. But you might say, I like 4 and 6 and, you know, I mean, we're never gonna get to what the perfect situation. But I guess I'd like to try to get some public input, and you guys mentioned this in terms of some comments about whether it's workshops or surveys or whatever, but.
Well, if we figure that out.
When we can get.
No, I'm not even willing to give you when. If we figure that out, that will have been a huge achievement. And I mean, be getting people more than our standard 30 people to show up. How we struggle every time. How do we get more? How do we get them to show up, to engage, to be interested, to give us feedback? I mean, if they come in and say they hate it all, I'm thrilled with their answers, right? I might not agree, but I'm delighted they came.
I think we have to actually flip what we're doing and go to them.
I would suggest when you get to a point, you've got several things you wanted to. But then you present them rather than keeping vague, but you can go off in 100 different directions.
I just feel like. For all the things we've been doing, comp plan, NISR, everything. It's here or the community center or Lincoln County Regional Planning, it's a meeting format, it's almost always the same. We're not. Like, why don't we have a table at the Speedway? And grab people while they're going by, hey, what do you think about this idea? I'm not saying it solves the problem, but I'm saying
It's a different audience.
maybe we need to go,
Yeah,
we need to reach more than just the village. Cause it impacts all taxpayers.
If you go to them, like I was saying, you had, let's say, you take 3 or 4 things here that you wanna start on. And have a meeting on that. And
Yeah, I do think-
In that case, you may get more people interested, because if something might affect them.
And I do think that's a good point in terms of, like, this meeting is very broad. It's got a million things on it.
Right.
Some people are not gonna be interested in coming to a meeting if they don't know, okay, there's these 3 things and I have an opinion about them. Rather than there's a laundry list. They're all important, but. You know, so to your point, that may be more effective when we get to that specific point.
But we've also had very issue-specific meetings, and it's the same 30 people. I think your idea of going to the Speedway may be more useful, and is there another place that's like the Speedway, but not, we add that in, because they sit in front of Shaw's, right?
I was just gonna say, so.
Right, or Ames, or the transfer station.
Or we get, the transfer station is good too, because everybody goes there. Get the Girl Scouts to sell Girl Scout cookies, and then we set up a table next, right?
transfer station?
No, at Shaw's. I'm back at Shaw's. But yes,
But I think that kind of getting out of what we normally do with. Or, that's just what I was
Yes.
thinking about.
but I think that if you go through here and you look at it, there's nothing specific enough to really generate opinions from people. Unless it was to say, do you have some other idea that we didn't capture? But that's such a broad, open-ended question that it's gonna be difficult for people to come up with an answer spur of the moment.
Right, so I'm thinking more like when the waterfront plan is done. Or at least mostly done, once that's put together. Like that would be something you could table about, like, hey, here's what we're thinking about doing. And then whatever, you do your survey or collect comments or whatever it is. So I think it's gonna be, like you're all saying, that can't be, here's a 12-question survey.
No.
No one will do
We ever tried focus groups?
I don't even
that.
do that,
That's not a bad idea.
but how do you get them?
You
Well,
could have
I
a
think you-
focus group with the Wormers, you could have a focus group at Marketplace Cafe, you could have a
Yeah.
focus group at the Rod and Gun Club. You can do it anywhere, and you can actually get a fairly broad spectrum of opinions on anyone or all of these.
Yeah,
But first we have to identify what we want to tackle, right?
And we need to
Yeah.
watch it.
well, I think that's the other piece is that I think should all be tied into the comp plan. There's no reason why this should be 2 separate processes.
No, I see this as getting folded into the comp plan,
Mhm.
right? We just happened to, it was one of our charges,
Right.
and so we had it done.
But I mean, in terms of budget,
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
oh, budget,
easier.
money?
We don't have any.
So I guess, I mean, anybody else feel free to chime in, but I guess some of these are gonna be different based on the people who need to tackle them appropriately. By that, I mean the waterfront one, that's sort of already moving, right?
Right
There's the waterfront committee and, right, support small business, I'm assuming this is gonna hopefully mean a lot of collaboration with the chamber, right?
Mhm.
capitalize on rail access, that's obviously very different, state authorities and that kind of thing, so. I guess they're not all created equal in terms of who's doing what and who's responsible for what. So,
Well, just using the rail access as a touchstone, in a prior community, and this is my fourth. We worked with on rails to trails. It took us probably 9 years to move that dial with the rail. That's one thing. It requires constant persistence and gentle pressure to get it done. But it also says that the horizon on this type of activity is not 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months.
Yeah, they don't even know what they're gonna do with the railroad.
Oh, and we have so little control.
And if
Right.
you rode on that thing, the right tracks are like this. And I took it from here to Bath and I bet I could have ridden my bicycle there faster.
Hence the rails to trails.
Well,
I just real slow.
bring it back to like where, I know you're saying that a lot of controls with DOT. But,
well, depending on what.
well, let me just explain my thought. We were presented with the idea of a railroad approach to town, after some of my outreach to them, to run an excursion rail from out of Wiscasset, right? It didn't work out for a variety of reasons, but those type of things are gonna happen, so-called opportunities like we talked about. If we have that in our plan and our set of goals, those are the type of things that inform whoever's in my position, or in your position, that would let that person or policymaker, decide whether or not to pursue that opportunity. Part of the goals are also strategic, when you look at things like, remember we had another opportunity about EV charging stations. Now, it's not go down the path of whether or not they're needed or not. But if that's in a plan or a goal, then that allows the policymaker to make decisions and make recommendations, apply for grants. Because they're following a plan that was adopted by the policy boards in the community. And when you write grants, you can take language from those plans and cite that as reasons of support. And that makes your application more stronger. So.
So I guess,
Are you looking for a vehicle to get to what's really important here? I mean, set aside the 9 elements here. They could be any one or all the 9, and I'm just wondering if we are searching for the focus group. The methodology to get the kind of input needed to to polish the comprehensive plan, to move these items. here.
so I guess, yes, and. I think there are things on this list that are a list of things that would be overall goals that we would all wanna work towards and would be part of Aaron's job specifically, your job specifically, maybe depending on what it is. Then I think there are, I don't wanna say wish list items, but I guess the rail would be one of them in terms of your point. That's not a 6-month or even a year thing. I think we're all open to it and would love to see it if it would work. But I don't know that I would put that at the top of the list. Like, I don't want him spending personally, I don't want him spending all his time on rail in front of some of these other possibly more near term things.
It does.
Another one would be public transportation. That's a great thought, but it's not here, it's not coming anytime soon, and it's probably not realistic. They just sent out that survey in this area. I can be, you can call me wrong in 5 years, but I just don't think that's realistic at the moment. That doesn't mean I and the board, I'm assuming, wouldn't be absolutely open to it if that actually comes this way. But I don't think that's something that we would be, like, that's also not on us. We don't make that decision to create a public transportation system for the mid-coast, right?
Right, but we can stand ready by having it in our document to say we support that if it came along.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, and that's really kind of what it's in there for.
I think there's like support statements that like, we would love to see this. That doesn't mean we're gonna spend all our time and money on it,
No, but I mean,
because we also can't.
and I'm not saying that I'm gonna spend all my time on all this, pie in the pie stuff, but it's about giving me direction to say that the community or the board supports some of these items, and when they come along my path, which they do, I was contacted by Breeze Shuttle from Portland about extending their bus into Wiscasset from that. I had conversations with them, but they're not ready yet. But the point I'm trying to make is I have those conversations. I would feel more comfortable if I had a charge like this that was approved from a board that said, oh, okay, yeah, I could say, well, then I could even help the Breeze Shuttle and say, step further, okay, you're interested, I'm interested, our board's interested because I have this document. Maybe we can work together on applying for, a grant or something, that kind of thing, to make it happen. So that's kind of why I think it's important to have something like this.
So I'm not actually disagreeing. I'm coming at this from an organizational standpoint of how do we attack this? And what I'm saying is, my opinion is that there are some things that are on the list that we say, these are our priorities that go into official job descriptions that committees work on. There's another list that says, there are other stakeholders involved. We don't drive the bus, pun intended, on these things, but we would be supportive if approached.
Right, a strategic plan, right?
Yeah,
That's all we're looking for.
And as you said right up front at the beginning of this meeting, this is a living document. It's going to change. It's going to be fluid. Why, public transportation may not end up on the top of our list. If that opportunity does come along, then you take advantage of it. You work with it and you move ahead with it.
I'm literally trying to get us to a point where we can take some things off the list so we can narrow down the list of priorities we want to work on.
So,
Does that make sense? I'm not saying we don't do those things. I'm saying those are the things that we either don't have control over or aren't immediate.
So
We don't really get
the next,
Apparently it laughs.
maybe what I could
That's
do.
if she keeps it up.
What I could do is, and I feel like that was sort of the next step in the process, but is to come up with a Gantt chart and then assign roles, like, airport committee, economic development director, town manager, or planning board, or whatever chamber. And, and then, those are responsible for those goals or monitoring those goals, and then also go through a prioritization exercise where you guys all submit to me like your highest priority ones, and then I, tally the score or whatever, and then give you the, what the results are.
Can I put my hand up?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I like that in that it puts all the work on you, but I would argue that we could call this list together as a committee and make some priorities based on what is attainable and what kind of timeline to help direct traffic, so to speak. Rather than people being assigned those duties like that, it's a pretty quick scrub of the list, like, this is a long-term plan. And these are immediate things that we could put into action.
I mean, does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. We need some easy wins,
it's-
right?
And
Yeah.
And it's no mistake that it distills to 9 objectives here. But you will also notice in this language that the word leverage appears multiple times. I'm going to give you an example of leverage and using it, going along with that rail access. Where I was in Pennsylvania, there was, at least the towns, the surrounding towns went to the conservation groups in the area and said, help us convince the railroads or the railroad that turning over some of their unused track to us. And so they leveraged there, and so you can leverage a lot of these things, and so you do see that word sprinkled throughout it. So de-emphasize on the things that you can do, you can do right here, but also push it out into the community, to the commercial organizations, to the conservation organizations, to whomever is a stakeholder.
I think we discussed way back in the beginning of this committee. That two of the important things, one was to bring in business, and number two, you have to have housing.
Yes.
And so workforce housing is very important and bringing in business.
We did spend a
The
lot of
idea,
time on
the
how,
idea of the committee on the job and all was to help widen the tax base.
Well. Yeah. We wanna create jobs, but where are the people gonna live?
Right.
So. We'd like to have them live in our community.
Every house built. It's property tax.
Sure.
Well, those two would be my things to work on first. And if there
So I
are
guess-
other ones you can work on,
Yeah, so I guess
to get
the
ready.
energy infrastructure and the housing, the first two. Those I feel like are almost no brainers that are already being worked on and are already priorities, at least for Aaron. When you say Aaron, at least in terms of the amount of work you spend on. Time,
Yeah, and then and spending a lot of time on the waterfront in the sense of
Yeah.
the waterfront climate action stuff.
and I don't know. I guess the housing one, I'm not sure. Who else would be working on that besides Aaron? Right?
George, you know, he's working on some of the ordinance changes.
Okay.
And that is something you need as ordinance changes is.
yes,
Planner said, most towns, the book is this big and ours is this big. And she never got around to telling us which ones we can modify or get rid of. It needs to be looked at.
Yeah, he's been working with the ORC
Yeah,
on some of that.
which is good.
And I would encourage him to feel free to not consider that he has to do it 100%, but he can do it in segments.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
move those new changes in as he has it ready. Don't feel you have to do 100%.
Like we did with the recent survey.
Yes,
If
we
you go
made an
to, if
immediate
you go to a
change.
planning board meeting, you can see where the sticking funds are, like we had with the
Yeah.
18 or the 12-month survey and
6
so on, but there's a lot of little things like that that can be wiped out.
So I guess after all of this, is there something that you would like us to take away and change? Would you like us to come up with 2 sections, like immediate priorities and long-term priorities? Always understanding, of course, that if somebody shows up ready to work on a long-term priority, that's gonna move up to our current priority. Is that something that you think would make it more manageable in terms of when comes time to rolling it into the long-term comp plan?
I mean, I think that makes sense, along with who would be involved. In other words, is that economic development director, is that X committee, is that town manager, like,
Right, is that
it doesn't have to be
the
perfect, but
manager
like,
of the airport?
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But you would
Does
like,
that seem helpful?
okay,
I mean, I don't want to need this work, but to me, that seems like that would need to be done no matter how we
No, I think.
reorder.
I think, I would just ask that we consider 3 items, but. I agree with the number 1, the underutilized. Energy infrastructure rate, the housing stuff, and then just support small businesses. I think that would just be a really good, an important thing, message to small businesses, yeah, put it bluntly.
Is the chamber aware that this is in here?
This doesn't necessarily involve,
So we did have a chamber.
Yeah, Pat.
yeah, Sherry's on the chamber, I'm on the chamber boards, yeah, so
Yeah.
some of them are
Yeah,
well aware.
very much.
Brenna's on the
Right.
chamber and this,
Okay.
I'm on the chamber, I guess.
I mean, if you look at the more detailed strategies underneath.
Yeah.
Those are, some of those things are. I would consider pound thing,
Yeah, for sure.
so.
Let me throw something out. On talking about managing traffic congestion, which we have very little control over, but parking we do. I had suggested when we're doing the downtown, that where I live, not Pennsylvania, but Illinois, there's a town that had parking garages that you didn't even see. And I was talking about the one on Water Street that they built, what was the name of the family that owned it?
Haggett Law.
The Haggett lot. Probably there's a light legend there, but there's a way to make a 2-level parking garage that the people behind it would only see the top of the cars on the top. The top would be open, the bottom would be closed. You do the same thing down,
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I have reached out to Larry and Ted within the last week of 10 days. To get together to come up with some kind of a comprehensive plan on. Improving the parking downtown, and Larry's mentioned several times about making Water Street and Middle Street route one way. And what that would look like if we actually did come up with a conversation about putting a second layer on Railroad Avenue.
yeah. And you can do it in a way that it's not like these big cities put them up. But it keeps it, that the people behind don't really see, they see the roof of the car no more than they see the roof of the car now without a parking garage. But you can double your parking.
Yeah.
The Haggett lot might be, I think there's a lot of ledge there, you have the dynamite.
Yeah, I don't see, that wouldn't work there, but it very easily put a second story on Railroad Avenue, nobody would even notice.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Except for me.
No, this is all-
It's not all the way down.
The trees.
Doesn't,
It's just talk, but
Doesn't
rather than throw something more at the economic development committee to be looking at, and that's something we're already.
Yeah.
We're already trying to,
It's already in the plan under the village, parking, so.
there's, the only way you can make more parking in there is tear down houses, and most of them are historic houses, you can't do it anyway.
well, there's some areas that you, in the streets.
Oh, yours is, we can take that.
No.
You don't wanna get too far. Some of
So
the,
I just wanna throw it out for future.
well, some of the streets were made, those streets were made one way. And you could actually get more parking, because you park on both sides of the
Actually,
road.
the Water Street, Middle Street. That parking lot can be very easily, the concept, I can get you pictures of it. How it's really a low thing. You dig down a little bit and up, and you get 2 layers of parking.
But I think I don't wanna get too far in the weeds here about
Yes.
this, but I think the whole signage thing is also more of
Yes.
an issue, I think, than.
Agreed.
There are empty spaces, but people don't find them.
yes.
And streets, as you guys hear me every meeting, streets that no one parks on in the summertime, I know because I live here in the summertime. And people, it's just a block away and people don't park on them because there's not good signage and they're not sure if they can park on both sides and.
Right.
And I will say, I will hope that we will tread carefully on the managed traffic congestion, because we just came through a 10 to
Oh.
15 year battle about it. And as Bill said, we have very little we can impact. And I'm sorry, but if tourists think that they're gonna have a smooth, quick ride through coastal Route 1 in the middle of the summer in Mid-Coast Maine, I'm sorry, they're on another planet.
yeah,
So,
I don't even worry about them.
Where I live in Chicago, it's all year round on the streets, and
Let's
why
take
out in
item
the
six.
suburbs.
but I will say, I
Signage.
I do think, and I don't know if this is if this is one of the ones in terms of electronic signage, but I think we've already tried, but maybe we can tackle them again. I really want us to get the countdown on the crosswalks on Main Street. I think that would be hugely helpful for both pedestrians and motorists to know that it's going to change.
They're the longest crosswalks on the face of the earth.
I know that, but it's so much shorter if you see the guys.
Yes.
I'm just saying,
If those lights changing and the crosswalks are purposely made to keep traffic moving, not pedestrians.
We understand why, they're still the longest.
yeah, they're like 3.5 minutes.
So,
It's,
like, this is a good discussion, but what I'm hearing is that this is why I wanted to have this discussion, because those are the type of things that I think my job is in part doing, is hearing from you. Is to lower those counts. I know that's small fry stuff, but my job is to advocate for the town. And if you see that in the plan, some sort of direction that you're giving me, I can go to DOT. I have contacts there, we can advocate for that, I can help you with that. So, we advocated and now we're gonna hopefully get 2 new streetlights, I don't know if that's gonna help, but
no, it's fine, that's my own.
From a safety perspective, it's a good thing.
so
I know, I just,
anyways.
I did not know that.
We're gonna do more street
you know, where are they going?
Just need
Yeah,
a
that's
teacher.
not-
About this.
Oh, way down there.
Okay, yeah,
First Point and, no, sorry, not First Point, Old Ferry Road and the marketplace and Shaw's.
And hopefully they'll be yellow in the middle of the night, not, functionally, they just put it to yellow.
That's what they promised us when they did it the first time.
Yeah.
The 27 and 1 was going to be a.
Well,
flash.
they
It
said
was
they're
a
about
flash
these too.
during the snowstorm.
Yeah, they are doing snowstorms.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to drag us down there.
The,
Okay, so.
I do think the countdown things would make a huge.
Well, right now you know where the pain is, let's get at it.
So you would like us to come back with kind of a long-term and a short-term, always keeping in that reality will dictate what actually gets worked on. But kind of here's shorter term and potentially longer terms, or even, of opportunity.
Yeah, long-term / we don't necessarily control it.
But we can influence, maybe.
Right.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody?
I think so.
Yes.
And then an idea of who would implement it,
Right.
yeah,
Or at least, who would be the driver?
sure.
Right, who you reach out to be part of it, i.e. the chamber or the.
I thought leverage, same thing.
Yeah,
And then let's continue to think about what are the ways that we can get more people involved. I think we've had some good ideas tonight. So let's continue to,
For example, in Wayne, well, there's a couple things, but that involve this, but when we were just doing a sidewalk project, Wayne, that was a big deal. But I did the road show, I went to a lot of the different community groups and I sat down with them and rolled out the plans and explained it, handed out the budget, and answered their questions, besides having the big public meeting. But those were the type of things that, you get community consensus and then when you hear back from them, they say, somebody might inevitably say, oh, you should plant some flowers here, or, fix the parking. Okay, so then I went back to DOT and talked to them about this concept, and then they helped amend the plan. Yeah, so to some of the business owners about, how it's gonna affect their business construction and, and everything like that, those are ways that we can do that on a project.
no, I think that's a great idea, like, would the garden club entertain us for 20 minutes to
Yes, yeah.
get some
Yes.
feedback?
We would be delighted. The congregation will.
It's just,
Yeah.
I find this a very useful exercise, and I'd like to propose that we do have this kind of workshop at least once a year. Where we sit down and see what we've been able, what we've accomplished. I mean, we can write reports until the cows come home. But if we sit down, like we have the last number of minutes, I've got some fairly decent notes. And I think we can jump on these things and move on. But if we keep sending, up the house and down the house, messages, we won't be nearly as efficient as having something like this session once a year. Does that make sense to everybody?
Could I just build upon
All those who disagree can leave the room.
I like you, Fred. In Wayne, probably people are tired of hearing about Wayne, but we did the comprehensive plan. There was a set of goals. But one of the things that the plan committee charged me after they got this resolved. They said, Aaron, we don't want this to sit on the shelf. We spent 3 stinking years working on this damn thing. Okay, I said to them, we'll make it happen. One of the things that I did was I met with the select board. And we looked at the goals. And I had them prioritize, not every one, but look at them and say, to me, we had a little workshop, I like this. We had food. It wasn't in the town office. It was very casual. But we had a discussion, which ones they thought were priorities. And then, when we did that every year. And we picked like 2 or 3. And, that would actually sit on the select board goals. Those were the select board goals for the year. And I actually placed it right on the agenda. For 3 goals. And we had board members in charge of them. They would speak up about it at that time on the agenda. It was important and we tried to resolve them. We made some progress. What I'm trying to say is we could do something like that, not at the select board table, or you can if you want. But if you have this annual workshop place, where it's saying, is just pick one of these goals and say to us next year, work on the hangers to us. I'm just saying, for example. Then we can come back to you as a proposal, and get back to you on that. So that's, I think, a valid way of handling that. Anyways.
Thank you. So that leads me to next meeting. So when should we meet? To give you enough time to go back and.
So I'm going out of town. Next Tuesday night after our select board meeting. And I will not be back until the following select board meeting on 17th.
When would you normally meet next? Somewhere there.
Around the 24th or 5th, something like that.
We've been.
Whatever that
to
Thursday-
accommodate schedules mostly, but yeah.
Well, I thought
we have a set
we were meeting on the. What were we doing? March 3rd.
No, it wouldn't be March 5th. Because we're meeting now. We'd be
Well,
either the 19th or the 26th. But we
26.
have other stuff going on the 19th, so it would need to be the 26th.
So then you're gonna come back. And do another joint meeting the week of the 30th? Is that no?
Is the week of the 26th not an option?
Not if you're meeting. the
Oh, that's
26th.
right, that's right. Sure.
On the 6th of March.
We
That's-
No, that's when they're-
economic
we
development.
could meet, at your meeting, just have it as an agenda item, due course, and then we can come back with our recommendations and then And then you guys can,
That wouldn't be till the 7th though. So that would be in another week.
I'm just trying to, I know you guys are busy with budgets and things and.
Although we're done with budget meetings. Next week, right?
That's up to you guys.
I'm just trying to be respectful of your time.
I think we're going.
Unless you throw us away.
Okay, so I mean, we don't have a select board meeting that week, so Tuesday is probably an option, or if Thursdays are better for you guys, so 31st or April 2nd, either of those.
Try the second.
I'll say the second, give us a little more time to meet as a slab group.
April 2nd,
April 2nd.
I have a conflict, I can't get. Rachel?
That's Monday, Thursday. If that matters to
I'd rather
anybody.
not.
Yeah, I'd rather, if he has one, I have one too, I'd rather do the 31st then,
Or Wednesday,
or Wednesday.
Wednesday, what?
the first.
That would be better for me. If you have a conflict, it would be very
April
first.
Fool's Day, yeah, I got that open.
Not me, I'm not gonna be here, it's a holiday.
Well, they named it after you, didn't they?
All right, April Fool's Day.
6 o'clock, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will